Bullies mocked the boy in a wheelchair. But what happened next surprised everyone. Tyler gripped the handles of his wheelchair tightly as he watched his backpack being tossed back and forth between two classmates who laughed loudly. The humiliation burned in his chest, but he had already learned that reacting only made things worse. "Catch it if you can, cripple," shouted Zach, the taller of the two, hurling the backpack away. "Go on, chase after it," added Ryan, doubling over with laughter. The sound of their jeers echoed across the True Friendship courtyard at Lincoln Memorial Middle School in Portland as other students stopped to watch the spectacle. Some laughed along, others just stood silently, but no one moved to help. Tyler, 12 years old, lowered his head and began wheeling toward his backpack, now sprawled on the ground with notebooks and pencils scattered everywhere. "Look how slow he is," Zach taunted, pretending to move in slow motion. Madison, a 9th grade student nearby, felt her stomach churn at the scene. Without a second thought, she grabbed her phone and started recording. Her hands shook with indignation as she captured every second of Tyler's humiliation. "Aren't you ashamed of yourselves?" she muttered under her breath, but she didn't dare intervene directly. Tyler finally reached his things and began gathering them with the forced calm of someone who had been through this many times before. Zach and Ryan grew bored of their game and walked away, still laughing and making cruel remarks. The boy finished packing his belongings, adjusted his backpack on his lap, and headed to class as if nothing had happened. At the Johnson household, just 15 minutes from the school, Angela was finishing lunch before leaving for her afternoon shift at the hospital. At 42, she worked double shifts as a nurse to pay for her son's physical therapy. Tyler's father had disappeared when he learned of the boy's disability, leaving Angela to face all the challenges alone. Her phone rang, displaying the school's name on the screen. Angela's heart immediately raced. Calls from the school during class hours rarely brought good news. "Hello," she answered, her voice tense. "Mrs. Johnson, this is Teacher Susan. Could you come to the school? Something happened with Tyler." "Did he get hurt? What happened?" Anxiety filled her voice. "No, he wasn't physically hurt, but it's better we talk in person." Angela hung up with trembling hands. She grabbed the keys to the used car she had bought with great sacrifice and rushed to the school. Along the way, her mind raced with possibilities, all of them bad. Tyler was a quiet, studious boy who never caused trouble. What could have happened? When she arrived, Angela went straight to the principal's office. Teacher Susan waited with a grave expression. She was a 50-year-old woman, experienced, having seen many difficult situations in her career, but she was still shocked by the cruelty some children could show. "Mrs. Johnson, please sit down," Susan said, gesturing to a chair. "What is it? Did Tyler do something wrong?" Angela asked, still confused. "No, the problem isn't with him. We have a video a student recorded today in the courtyard. I need you to see it." Susan picked up the tablet on the desk and showed the video Madison had sent to the class's iMessage group. The images were clear. Zach and Ryan cruelly mocking Tyler, throwing his backpack, and making humiliating comments. Angela watched in silence, feeling anger rise in her chest with every second. "How long has this been happening?" she asked, her voice choked. "We don't know for sure. Tyler never complained. We only found out today because of the video." Angela closed her eyes, trying to control her emotions. She had always known her son would face difficulties because of his wheelchair, but seeing him humiliated like that broke her heart. Tyler had been born with spina bifida, a spinal condition that affected his leg movements. Since he was little, he had shown himself to be a strong and determined boy, but Angela knew deep down he suffered greatly. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. "I want to speak to those boys' parents," said Angela, struggling to keep her composure. "We've already tried reaching out. Zach lives with his grandmother, and she said she'll come tomorrow. Ryan's parents haven't responded yet. And what's going to happen to them?" Teacher Susan let out a deep sigh. She knew the situation was delicate and required careful handling. Expelling the boys would solve the immediate problem, but wouldn't teach them to change. On the other hand, letting it slide would be unfair to Tyler. "We'll wait for the meeting with their families before deciding, but I promise it won't be left like this." Angela nodded and asked to see her son. Tyler was in the library, pretending to read a book, but his distant gaze betrayed that his thoughts were far away. When he saw his mother enter, he forced a smile. "Hey, Mom, what are you doing here? I came to pick you up early today. Let's go home." On the way back, Angela tried to bring up what had happened, but Tyler dodged her questions. Only when they got home did he finally open up. "Mom, you saw the video, didn't you?" Angela stopped putting away the groceries and moved closer to her son. His eyes were wet, but he tried to keep up the strong front he always showed. "Yes, sweetheart. Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because I knew you'd get worried and sad, and you already have enough to worry about with me." The words hit Angela like a punch to the gut. Her 12-year-old son was protecting her, carrying the weight of humiliation alone, just to spare his mother more pain. She knelt beside the wheelchair and hugged Tyler tightly. "You don't have to protect me from anything. I'm your mother. I'm here to stand up for you, always." "I know, Mom. But sometimes I wonder, would things be easier if I were normal?" Angela felt her heart shatter. She pulled back slightly to look into his eyes, holding his face with both hands. "You are normal, Tyler. You're smart, kind, funny, brave. There are people who walk on their own 2 feet but are far more limited than you." That night, Angela barely slept. She kept thinking about how to protect her son without smothering him, how to teach him to stand up for himself without encouraging violence. Across town, in the Oak Ridge neighborhood, Zach's grandmother was also having a sleepless night. Grandma Betty, 68 years old, had raised Zach alone since he was 5, when his mother vanished one night, leaving only a note saying she couldn't do it anymore. His father had never been part of his life. Zach was her only company, but lately she'd noticed troubling changes in his behavior. He came home angry, snapped when she asked about school, and spent hours on his phone watching violent videos. Grandma Betty tried to talk to him, but Zach always found an excuse to avoid the subject. The call from school that afternoon had been a shock. "Zach, come here, we need to talk," she called when he got home. "Not now, Grandma, I'm tired." "Yes, now. Your teacher called me today." Zach froze halfway up the stairs, his expression a mix of surprise and fear. He knew exactly what she wanted to talk about. "So, what did she say?" "You know exactly what she said. How could you do something like that to a classmate, and to a boy who already has his own struggles?" Zach walked down the steps slowly, his head hanging low. For a moment, Grandma Betty saw in him the small, frightened child who had arrived at her home years ago. "Grandma, you don't understand. Then explain it to me. Help me understand why my grandson, who I raised to be a good person, is being cruel to others." Zach flopped onto the couch beside his grandmother, avoiding her gaze. The truth was, he didn't really know how to explain why he acted that way. The anger he felt when he saw Tyler seemed to come out of nowhere, as if the boy's presence in the wheelchair deeply bothered him. "I don't know, Grandma. Sometimes I look at him and I just get mad." "Mad about what? What did that boy ever do to you?" "Nothing. He never did anything. It's just everyone feels sorry for him. The teachers are always asking if he needs help, and no one ever asks if we need anything." Grandma Betty fell silent for a moment, processing her grandson's words. For the first time, she began to understand that maybe Zach's aggression wasn't just cruelty, but a twisted way of dealing with his own insecurities and needs. "Zach, are you jealous?" "Not jealous, Grandma. It's just, sometimes I feel invisible at school, and when I teased him, everyone paid attention to me." The painful honesty in her grandson's words struck Grandma Betty deeply. She had worked so hard to give Zach everything she could that she hadn't noticed the deep emotional void growing inside him. The absence of his mother, the lack of a father, the loneliness he felt even surrounded by classmates. The next day, the meeting at school brought together Angela, Tyler, Grandma Betty, Zach, and their teacher Susan. Ryan's parents were represented only by his mother, Karen, who arrived late and visibly annoyed about having to leave work. "I won't accept my son being expelled over some harmless teasing," Karen said before even sitting down. "Teasing?" Angela couldn't hold back. "Did you see the video?" "Yes, I did. Boys do these things. It's normal." You're overreacting. The tension in the room was thick. Tyler remained silent, watching everything carefully. Zach kept his eyes on the floor, clearly ashamed. Grandma Betty held her grandson's hand firmly, as if trying to give him strength. Mrs. Johnson, Teacher Susan intervened. Humiliating a classmate because of his disability isn't teasing. It's bullying and it's a crime. A crime? Now everything's a crime. In my day, we learned to stand up for ourselves. Angela felt her anger rising, but it was Tyler who surprised everyone by speaking for the first time. I don't want anyone to be expelled. Everyone turned to look at him. Tyler sat upright in his chair, with a maturity beyond his years. Tyler, you don't have to defend those who hurt you, Angela said gently. I'm not defending what they did, Mom. I'm saying expelling them won't solve anything. They'll just keep thinking they were right. Zach lifted his head for the first time and looked straight at Tyler. There was something in the boy's expression that unsettled him. Not anger, not fear, but a mix of sadness and understanding that Zach couldn't grasp. Teacher Susan seized the moment to propose a different solution. What if we try an educational approach? We have a charity event coming up. The three of them could work together to organize it. Work together? Karen rolled her eyes. My son doesn't have time for that nonsense. Actually, it's either this or suspension, Susan replied firmly. The choice is yours. Grandma Betty squeezed Zach's hand and whispered, Take it, my boy. It's a chance to make things right. Zach nodded reluctantly. Ryan, who had stayed quiet throughout the entire meeting, just shrugged when his mom asked for his opinion. The decision was made. The three boys would work together to organize the school's charity fundraiser. In the first few days, their interactions were tense and awkward. Zach and Ryan greeted Tyler out of politeness, but avoided unnecessary conversations. Tyler, for his part, stayed focused on the work, showing organizational skills that even impressed the teacher in charge of the project. Tyler, are you sure you can handle coordinating the games? Asked Rebecca, the physical education teacher. I can, Ms. Rebecca. I already made a schedule with all the times and a list of the materials we'll need. Zach, who was organizing promotional posters, couldn't help but glance at the sheet Tyler had prepared. The plan was detailed and well-structured, better than anything he could have come up with himself. How'd you do this so fast? He asked without thinking. I like strategy games, Tyler answered simply. And you draw really well. These posters look great. The sincere compliment caught Zach off guard. He expected coldness or sarcasm, but Tyler seemed genuinely interested in making the project work. Ryan, who had been participating half-heartedly until then, started noticing other things about Tyler. During recess, he saw Tyler patiently helping a fifth grader with her math homework, explaining until she fully understood. You're good at math, Ryan commented shyly. Sort of. I like numbers. They make sense to me. I struggle with it. My mom gets mad when I get bad grades. Tyler hesitated for a moment, then made an offer that surprised even himself. If you want, I can help you. The offer left Ryan speechless. How could someone he'd humiliated be offering to help him? Tyler's generosity stirred something in Ryan he hadn't felt in a long time. Real guilt. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out as we're just starting. Now back to the story. Grandma Betty began noticing subtle changes in Zach's behavior. He came home less irritable and sometimes even mentioned things about the school project. She decided to take a step she'd wanted to for a long time. She started packing extra snacks for him to take to school during the fundraiser preparations. Zach, take these for your friends, she said, handing him a bag with sandwiches and juice. Grandma, you don't have to... Yes, I do. We've always been welcomed at that school. It's time to give a little back. When Zach walked into the room where the group was working and pulled out the snacks, the reaction was immediate. Tyler smiled widely. Your grandma made all this? Yeah, she likes cooking. My mom barely has time to make coffee, Ryan said, grabbing a sandwich. She works a lot? Way too much. I only see her early in the morning and at night when I get home from school. It was the first time Ryan had talked about his personal life. Zach realized he knew almost nothing about his classmates, even though they'd been in school together for years. What about you, Tyler? "Where do your parents work?" Zach asked, genuinely curious. "It's just me and my mom. She's a nurse." "And your dad?" Tyler shrugged, but Zach noticed a shadow of sadness cross his eyes. "He left when I was little." The silence that followed was different from before. It wasn't tense or uncomfortable, it was a silence of mutual understanding. The three boys were discovering they had more in common than they'd ever imagined. Over the next few weeks, the group dynamic slowly began to change. Ryan began accepting Tyler's help with math, and his grades improved noticeably. Zach discovered that Tyler had a sharp sense of humor and loved board games. Their meetings to organize the field day became less formal and more collaborative. It was during one of these meetings that something happened that would deeply mark all three boys. They were testing some of the games planned for the field day when Tyler suddenly stopped speaking mid-sentence. His face turned pale and his hands began to shake. "Tyler, are you okay?" Zach asked, concerned. "It hurts. Really bad," Tyler murmured, pressing his hands to his back. Ryan and Zach were frantic. They had never seen anyone in so much pain and didn't know what to do. Zach ran to get teacher Rebecca, while Ryan stayed by Tyler's side, trying to calm him. "It'll pass, man. Take deep breaths," Ryan said, holding Tyler's hand. The teacher arrived quickly and called Angela, who dropped everything at the hospital and rushed to the school. When she got there, she found Tyler lying in the nurse's office, still in pain, but calmer. Zach and Ryan sat beside the cot, visibly shaken. "Thank you for looking after him," Angela told the boys. "Mrs. Angela, is Tyler going to be okay?" Zach asked, his voice trembling. "He will. He has these episodes sometimes. It's part of his condition." Ryan, who had stayed quiet, finally spoke. "We didn't know he was in pain." Angela looked at the two boys who, not long ago, had been the ones causing her son's suffering. Now they showed genuine concern and care. "Tyler's always been like this. He never complains, but you were both very kind today." On the way home, Tyler tried to downplay what had happened, but Angela sensed something had shifted in his dynamic with his classmates. "Seems like you've made some friends," she remarked. "I don't know if I'd call them friends yet, but they were nice today." That evening, Angela got an unexpected call. It was Grandma Betty. "Mrs. Angela, I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from the school." "Of course, Grandma Betty. How can I help?" "Actually, I wanted to check on Tyler. Zach came home really worried." Angela was surprised by the call, but ended up talking at length with Zach's grandmother. She discovered the two women had a lot in common, both raising their boys alone, facing financial struggles, and constantly worrying about their futures. "Mrs. Angela, can I tell you something? Zach has changed a lot since he started working with Tyler." "How so?" "He's calmer, less angry. Yesterday he asked if I needed help with anything. It's been years since he's asked me that." The two women talked for over an hour, sharing stories, worries, and hopes. By the end, Grandma Betty made an invitation that surprised Angela. "How about you both come over for lunch this Sunday? Zach would be thrilled." Angela hesitated. The idea of socializing with the family of someone who had hurt her son was still hard to accept, but something in Grandma Betty's sincere voice moved her. "I'll ask Tyler." To Angela's surprise, Tyler was excited about the invitation. Sunday at Grandma Betty's house was eye-opening for everyone. The home was simple but welcoming, and Grandma Betty had prepared a thoughtful lunch. Zach showed Tyler his drawings, and Tyler was impressed by his classmates' talent. "Have you ever thought about taking art classes?" Tyler asked. "Classes are expensive," Zach replied with a shrug. "There are some really good free online courses. I can show you." Grandma Betty and Angela watched the boys interact with a mix of relief and hope. It was amazing to see how much had changed in such a short time. During dessert, Zach gathered the courage to talk about something that had been bothering him for weeks. "Tyler, I want to apologize for what I did. It was really wrong." "It's in the past, Zach." "No, it's not. I hurt you, and it was awful. I don't even know why I did it." Tyler looked straight into Zach's eyes. There was an impressive maturity in his words. "Sometimes we do wrong things when we're hurting inside. I get it." "How can you understand?" I was the one who was awful to you. Because I've also wanted to take my anger out on someone. When my dad left, I was really mad. I wanted everyone to know how bad I felt. Tyler's honesty moved everyone. Angela held her son's hand, proud of his ability to forgive and understand. Grandma Betty took the moment to share something she'd wanted to say for a long time. Zach, when your mum left, you were really angry too. Remember how you yelled that you hated everyone? Zach lowered his head, embarrassed by the memory. Is that true, Mom? Tyler asked. Yes, and I thought he'd moved past it, but I think he just buried that anger inside. Grandma, I don't want to be like that anymore, Zach said, his voice trembling. Then don't be, Tyler replied simply. How choose who you want to be? Those words echoed in Zach's mind all week. For the first time in years, he felt truly understood and, more importantly, believed he could change. The charity fundraiser was fast approaching, and the project had grown far beyond initial expectations. The teamwork between Tyler, Zach, and Ryan had become so effective that other students started asking to join. Teacher Rebecca was impressed by the whole school's involvement. Ryan, who had been more reserved throughout the process, finally opened up about his struggles at home during an after-school conversation. My mum won't stop fighting with me about my grades. She wants me to be the best in class, but I just can't. Grades aren't everything, Tyler said. You're good at other things. What am I good at? Ryan asked genuinely. You're super organized, remember every detail, and you're responsible. And you draw almost as well as Zach. Zach chimed in enthusiastically. It's true, your posters turned out great. Ryan smiled shyly. It was rare for anyone to praise his skills. At home, he only heard criticism about his low grades. At school, he was always overshadowed by more outgoing classmates. You know what you guys could do? Tyler suggested. Start an online channel about art and drawing. You both know a lot about it. A channel? Zach perked up. Yeah. Show techniques. Draw characters everyone likes. Lots of people would want to learn. The idea planted a seed in both boys' minds. For the first time, Ryan glimpsed something he could do well. Something that didn't depend just on school grades. A week before the fundraiser, Angela received news that shook her family deeply. During a routine checkup, the doctor explained that Tyler would need a more complex surgery in the coming months. The procedure could significantly improve his mobility, but the cost was very high. How much would it be? Angela asked, already knowing the answer would be beyond her budget. With all costs, including post-op physical therapy, around $60,000. Angela felt her world crumble. Even working 2 shifts, saving that amount would be impossible. Tyler, sitting beside her, stayed silent during the appointment, but Angela knew he understood the gravity of their financial situation. On the way home, Tyler finally spoke. Mum, we don't have that kind of money, do we? Not right now, sweetheart, but we'll figure something out. How? Angela didn't know what to say. How could she come up with $60,000? She asked Tyler not to talk about the surgery at school. She didn't want his classmates feeling sorry for him, but secrets are hard to keep, especially when you're building true friendships. During one of their meetings to finalize the preparations for the field day, Zach noticed Tyler seemed different, quieter and distracted. Dude, you okay? Zach asked. Yeah, just a little tired. Ryan, who by now knew the signs of when Tyler wasn't doing well, pressed further. You sure? You seem worried about something. Tyler hesitated. He'd promised his mom he wouldn't mention the surgery, but his new friends seemed genuinely concerned. Finally, he decided to tell them. I need to have surgery. Expensive surgery. How expensive? Zach asked. $60,000. Ryan nearly choked on his juice. Zach fell silent, trying to process the number. Dude, that's a ton of money, Ryan murmured. That's why I might not be able to get it. But is the surgery important? Zach asked. The doctor said it could really improve my mobility. I might even be able to walk with braces. The possibility of Tyler walking deeply affected both boys. They'd grown used to seeing him in a wheelchair, but the idea of him having an even better life moved them. We have to do something, Zach said firmly. What? You're kids, just like me. Tyler replied, trying to be realistic. Kids who organized the biggest field day in school history, Ryan reminded him. If we could do that, we can help you too. Tyler was touched by his friends' determination, but tried to discourage them. $60,000 isn't a joke, guys. We know, Zach said, but we're not giving up without trying. That night, Zach came home with an energy Grandma Betty hadn't seen in years. He told her about Tyler's situation and his determination to help. Grandma, we have to do something. Tyler needs this surgery. Sweetheart, you're too young to handle something this serious. But we can try, right? Maybe raise part of the money or start a campaign. Grandma Betty was impressed by her grandson's maturity. The boy who'd come home months ago complaining about everything was now willing to work hard to help a friend. What kind of campaign were you thinking? I don't know yet, but we could use the field day, right? A lot of people will be there. The conversation lasted late into the night. Grandma Betty, who'd worked as a seamstress for years before retiring, began brainstorming ways they could raise funds. Meanwhile, at Ryan's house, the reaction was different. When he told his mom about Tyler's situation, Karen got upset. Ryan, you can't get involved in this. It's not our problem. How is it not our problem? He's my friend. Friend? That boy you used to make fun of? Mom, that was wrong. Tyler's an amazing person, and he needs help. Life's hard enough. Everyone should handle their own problems. Ryan was hurt by his mum's reaction. For the first time, he saw clearly the difference between Karen's coldness and the generosity he'd found in Zach's family, and how Angela treated everyone with kindness. Mom, I'm going to help him no matter what. With what money? You're a kid. I'll figure it out. Karen realized she'd missed an important chance to support her son in something that clearly mattered to him, but her pride kept her from backing down. At school, without Tyler knowing, Zach and Ryan began talking to other classmates about using the field day to raise money. The response was surprisingly positive. Many students had seen the video of Tyler being humiliated and felt guilty for not stepping in at the time. Madison, the girl who had recorded the original video, was one of the first to offer help. I should have done something that day instead of just recording, she told Zach. You did the right thing by recording. That's how we found out how awful they were being to him. Still, I feel bad. What are you all planning? Zach explained the idea of turning the scavenger hunt into a charity event, specifically to help Tyler. Madison got excited and offered to use her social media skills to spread the word. Within days, the news spread throughout the school. Teachers volunteered to help, parents started asking how they could contribute, and even former students reached out wanting to participate. Teacher Rebecca was moved to see the entire school rally around Tyler. It's amazing how a bad situation can turn into something so beautiful, she remarked to teacher Susan. That's the power of real change, Susan replied. Those boys truly learned the value of empathy. When Tyler found out about the campaign, he was both touched and embarrassed. Guys, you didn't have to do this, he told Zach and Ryan. Of course we did, Zach answered. You'd do the same for any of us. But it's too much attention on me. I don't like that. Ryan put a hand on his friend's shoulder. Tyler, you taught us that helping others is the right thing to do. Now let us return the favor. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The charity scavenger hunt at Lincoln Memorial Middle School took place on a sunny Saturday morning. The school courtyard was unrecognizable, decorated with colorful posters, game booths, food stands, and a stage where performances would happen all day. Angela arrived early to help with setup, still in shock over the outpouring of support for her son. In recent days, she'd received calls from people she didn't even know offering donations and encouragement. Mrs. Angela called Grandma Betty, carrying a box full of treats. Where should I put these? Grandma Betty, did you make all this? Made with lots of love, it's the least I can do for Tyler. And for Zach too, he's been so happy organizing all this. The two women worked side by side all morning, overseeing activities and marveling at the boys' enthusiasm. Zach and Ryan seemed to be everywhere at once, coordinating games, helping visitors, and making sure everything ran smoothly. Tyler was at the center of it all, but in a way completely different from before. No longer the isolated boy watched with pity or curiosity. He was now the protagonist of a story of resilience and friendship that had touched the whole community. The highlight of the morning came when the school principal, Mrs. Elizabeth, called Tyler to the stage for a special tribute. Zach and Ryan insisted on joining him. "Tyler," the principal said into the microphone, "you probably don't realize it, but your story has touched far more people than you think. Not just because of your strength and determination, but because of how you turned two classmates into true friends." The crowd applauded enthusiastically. Tyler was emotional, but it was Zach who spoke up. "Principal, if I may, Tyler didn't just change us, he changed the whole school. Before, everyone pretended not to see when someone was mistreated. Now everyone looks out for each other." Ryan, gathering his courage, took the microphone. "I want to apologize to Tyler in front of everyone. And I want to say he's the best friend I've ever had in my life." Ryan's words echoed through the courtyard, causing an emotional silence, followed by a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Tyler hugged both his friends on stage, and Angela couldn't hold back her tears. During lunch, an even bigger surprise awaited Tyler's family. An elegant woman, around 50 years old, approached the table where they were sitting. "Are you Angela Johnson?" the woman asked. "Yes, I am. How can I help you?" "My name is Jennifer Barnes Wilson. I'm a business owner here in town, and I heard about your son's story on social media." Angela grew nervous, unsure what to expect. "Oh, really? I'd like to talk to you about Tyler's surgery." Jennifer explained that she owned a chain of pharmacies in the area and, after reading about Tyler's situation online, had been moved by his story of perseverance and friendship. "I want to sponsor half the cost of the surgery," she said simply. Angela nearly fainted. $30,000 was more money than she could save in years. "Ma'am, I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything. Just accept it. And if today's fundraiser covers the rest, even better." Tyler, who had overheard the whole conversation, was in shock. The possibility of the surgery, which had seemed so distant that morning, suddenly felt real. "Thank you so much, Mom," he managed to say. "Thank you, Tyler. You reminded me how important it is to help those in need." The rest of the afternoon passed like a dream. The activities from the fundraiser were an absolute success, with participation far beyond expectations. When it was finally time to count the money raised, a crowd gathered in the courtyard. Teacher Rebecca stepped onto the stage with a sheet of paper in her hand and a huge smile on her face. "Everyone, I'm about to announce the total amount raised today." The silence was absolute. "We raised $32,000. The explosion of joy was deafening. Tyler couldn't believe what he was hearing. With the businesswoman's donation, he had more than enough for the surgery. Zach and Ryan rushed to hug their friend, all three crying with emotion. Grandma Betty embraced Angela, both knowing that day had changed, not just Tyler's life, but all of theirs. Even Karen, who had shown up late in the afternoon under pressure from Ryan, was moved to see her son's genuine happiness. For the first time, she realized she had been wrong about the importance of that friendship. In the months that followed, many things changed in the lives of the three boys. Tyler had the surgery, which was a complete success. He spent weeks in recovery, always accompanied by his friends, who took turns keeping him company and helping with his studies. Zach discovered a passion for technical drawing and architecture, inspired by the projects he had worked on for the fundraiser. Grandma Betty managed to enroll him in a basic drawing class on Saturdays, paid for with part of the money she had saved over the years. Ryan, encouraged by his friends, started dedicating himself more to his studies, and his grades improved significantly. Even more importantly, he gained self-confidence and began expressing himself better at home. Karen, seeing the change in her son, began to understand there was much more to Ryan's life than just school grades. 6 months after the surgery, Tyler took his first steps with the help of special braces. Zach and Ryan were in the physical therapy room when it happened, and the three of them cried together. "Now you can be a real goalie," Zach joked, remembering an old conversation about soccer. "Or chase after you two when you're up to no good," Tyler laughed. The friendship between the three became legendary at school. They created an anti-bullying support group, helping other students who faced situations similar to what Tyler had gone through. The initiative was so successful that other schools in the area began requesting visits from the group. Angela, who had gained a daughter of the heart in Grandma Betty, often organized Sunday lunches where the two families would gather. Even Karen, little by little, started joining these gatherings, learning to cherish her time with Ryan more. Teacher Susan, who had witnessed the entire transformation from the beginning, used the story of the three boys as an example in her talks about education and inclusion. To her, it was living proof that school can be a place of true human transformation. A year after the charity competition, the school held a special ceremony to celebrate the event's anniversary. Tyler, Zach, and Ryan were invited as the keynote speakers. "A year ago, we were three boys with very different problems," Tyler said into the microphone. "Today, we're three friends who know that together we can overcome anything." "I learned that being strong isn't about hurting others," Zach added. "It's about helping those in need and admitting when we're wrong." Ryan, who once struggled to speak in public, concluded, "And I learned that everyone has value. Everyone has something special to offer. We just need to give each other a chance." The audience, which included students, teachers, parents, and even local journalists, applauded for several minutes. The story of the three boys had become a symbol of hope and transformation in the community. During high school, Tyler, Zach, and Ryan kept their friendship strong despite pursuing different academic paths. Tyler excelled in math and programming, Zach in arts and design, and Ryan in communication and writing. Together, they created an online channel where they shared their experiences and helped young people facing bullying or inclusion struggles. The channel grew quickly, reaching thousands of followers across the country. "You saved my life," wrote a girl from Seattle who had found the courage to report the bullying she endured at school. "Thank you for showing me I can change," commented a boy from Denver who had stopped harassing classmates after watching their videos. Messages poured in daily, proving that the story of the three friends had become far bigger than themselves. At the high school graduation, Tyler was chosen as the class speaker. During his speech, he looked at Zach and Ryan in the audience and smiled. "3 years ago, I thought I knew what it meant to be strong. I believed it was about enduring everything alone, never complaining, never burdening anyone with my problems. Today, I know true strength lies in letting others help us and in returning that help whenever we can." Tyler's speech went viral on social media, shared by thousands across the United States. Universities invited him to speak, companies offered internships, and non-profit organizations reached out for partnerships. But to Tyler, none of that mattered more than the simple moments with his friends, the afternoons studying together, the board games at Grandma Betty's house, the late-night talks about dreams and future plans. Zach, who had discovered his talent for architecture, earned a full scholarship for college. His first academic project was the design of a fully accessible school, inspired by his experience with Tyler. Ryan excelled in writing and communication, deciding to study journalism with a focus on social reporting. His first published article was about the importance of empathy in preventing school bullying. The three kept up their tradition of meeting every Sunday, now alternating between the homes of Angela, Grandma Betty, and even Karen, who had become a much more present and caring figure in her son's life. During college, a new opportunity arose for the trio. An assistive technology company approached them to develop apps and devices that would make life easier for people with disabilities. The proposal was irresistible, combining Tyler's programming skills, Zach's design expertise, and Ryan's communication talents to create truly useful solutions. They accepted the challenge, and during their college years, worked part-time at the company while continuing their studies. The first product they developed was an app that helped people with mobility impairments find accessible locations in their cities. "Remember when I struggled to figure out which places in town I could enter with my wheelchair?" Tyler said during a development meeting. "And now we're creating a tool that'll help thousands of people with the same problem," Zach replied excitedly. The app was an instant success. Within months, it had users in every major city across the United States and began expanding to other countries in Latin America. Ryan took charge of the product's communication and marketing, sharing the story behind its creation and inspiring others to get involved in the cause of accessibility. On college graduation day, the three were nervous but confident about the future. They had decided to start their own company, focused on assistive technology and social inclusion. During the ceremony, Angela, Grandma Betty, and even Karen sat together in the front row, proud of the young men their sons had become. "Who would have thought that terrible day at school would lead to all this?" Angela remarked. "Sometimes what feels like the worst moment of our lives is actually the beginning of something wonderful," Grandma Betty replied wisely. After graduation, Tyler, Zach, and Ryan officially founded their company, Together We Can, a nod to the phrase that had become their motto since their school days. The company's first office was set up in a small room in downtown Portland, decorated with Zach's sketches and photos of the most important moments in their friendship. Within a few years, the company grew exponentially. They developed communication software for the hearing impaired, educational games about inclusion for schools, and low-cost equipment for people with mobility challenges. But their most special project was the creation of the True Friendship Program, which brought anti-bullying activities to schools across the country. Tyler, Zach, and Ryan personally visited schools, sharing their story and working with students, teachers, and parents. "I never imagined our story could help so many people," Ryan said during one of these visits. "It's because it's a real story about real people facing real problems," Tyler replied. "People relate because they know they can go through the same transformations we did." During one school visit, they met Lily, an 11-year-old girl who used a wheelchair and endured constant bullying. The situation was almost identical to what Tyler had experienced years earlier. "Sometimes I think about not coming to school anymore," Lily confessed to Tyler. "I know exactly how you feel," he replied. "But I can promise you one thing. People can change. I was lucky to have friends who changed, and now they're my family." Zach and Ryan worked directly with the boys who bullied Lily, applying the same techniques they had learned from their own experiences. 3 months later, they received a video of Lily playing happily with the same classmates who had once tormented her. The transformation had happened again. Cases like Lily's repeated themselves constantly. The program had already benefited over 100 schools and thousands of children across the United States. Alongside their work, the three maintained harmony in their personal lives. Tyler started dating Jessica, a physical therapist he met during a lecture on inclusion. Zach married Emma, an architect he met in college who shared his passion for social projects. Ryan began a serious relationship with Jason, a psychologist who worked with at-risk teenagers. The three couples became close friends, and their Sunday gatherings now included more people, but kept the same warm spirit as always. Grandma Betty, now 75, remained the official cook for family get-togethers. Angela had reduced her hours at the hospital to dedicate more time to volunteering at her son's company. Even Karen found her place in the group, contributing her administrative expertise. 10 years after the field day that changed their lives, Tyler, Zach, and Ryan organized a special event at their old school. They invited everyone who had been part of that historic day, teachers, students, parents, and even the businesswoman Jennifer Barnes Wilson, who had become a major supporter of their company. The event was a celebration of friendship, resilience, and the transformative power of forgiveness. Over 500 people attended, including many who had been helped by the trio's work over the years. During the event, the school's current principal announced that the courtyard where it all began would be renamed True Friendship Courtyard, with a plaque telling the story of the three boys. "You didn't just change your own lives, you changed thousands of others," the principal said during the ceremony. "This school will always be grateful to have been the place where this extraordinary friendship was born." Tyler, now 22 and walking perfectly with the help of his braces, stepped onto the same stage where he had been honored 10 years earlier. "When I was a child and was bullied in this courtyard, I never imagined I'd one day stand here talking about friendship and overcoming. The pain I felt was real, but the transformation that came after was even more real." Zach, who had become a renowned architect specializing in inclusive projects, continued, "I learned that admitting our mistakes is the first step to becoming better people. And that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, It's about choosing to give someone a second chance. Ryan, now a respected journalist and disability rights activist, concluded, "Our story proves that no one is born good or bad. We all have the capacity to change, to grow, to become better. We just need an opportunity and people who believe in us." The audience rose in a standing ovation that lasted over 5 minutes. Many were moved to tears by the sincerity and beauty of the three friends' journey. After the event, the three sat alone in the newly named True Friendship Courtyard, watching the school's activity and reminiscing about all they had been through. "Sometimes, I still can't believe how much our lives have changed," Tyler said. "What amazes me most is that it all started with something so terrible," Zach remarked. "And look what it became." "I think that's the greatest lesson," Ryan reflected. "It's not the bad things that define us, it's what we do with them." The three stayed there for hours, talking about the past, the present, and their plans for the future. Their company kept growing. New projects constantly emerged, and every day they helped more people around the world. But none of that mattered more than that simple moment. Three friends sitting in the place where it all began, grateful for the journey that brought them there, and excited about all the possibilities still to come. When they finally stood up to leave, Tyler looked at the courtyard one more time and smiled. "Thank you," he whispered to the air, directing his gratitude to all the people and circumstances that had contributed to his transformation. Zach and Ryan heard him and smiled too. They knew exactly what he was thankful for the pain that taught them empathy, for the tears that made them cherish the smiles, for the struggles that strengthened them, and most of all for the friendship that rose from the ashes of cruelty and became the foundation of everything they built together. Years later, when the company Together We Can became one of the country's leading organizations in assistive technology and social inclusion, the three friends kept the same simple office where it all started. On the main wall, framed like a treasure, was the first drawing Zach had made for the charity fundraiser. 3 boys holding hands, smiling. Below it, a plaque with the phrase that became their life motto: "True strength lies in turning pain into love and differences into unity." The story of Tyler, Zach, and Ryan proved that bullying, no matter how cruel, doesn't have to define anyone's destiny. With the courage to forgive, the determination to change, and true friends by their side, anyone can turn their story of pain into a journey of hope and triumph. The end. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Zach and Ryan achieved a true transformation? Have you experienced or heard of similar situations? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinion. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.